let us begin with a point of inner focus, a deep and honest observation. Consider that for your whole life, a powerful current has been flowing beneath the surface, one you may have never truly acknowledged. This is not an external force, nor a matter of unseen energies. It is something far more intimate. It is the part of you that resides in the shadows of your awareness, the unseen architect behind your most impulsive reactions, the silent guide behind choices that unsettle your peace, precisely when calm seems within reach. Can you sense it? A persistent inner resistance that you cannot fully grasp, yet it remains. Have you ever, in a moment of quiet, felt a prompting from within that sounds like you, but does not feel like your conscious self? The one that suggests doubt, questions your worth, or tells you that you are fundamentally misaligned with the world. And here lies a profound insight. This inner tension is not your enemy. It seeks to protect you. Yet its methods are born from old wounds. And perhaps you have come to see this pattern of protection as your core identity. You may have grown accustomed to living near a quiet desperation, to following paths that lead away from your center, to disrupting your own harmony, to numbing your inner aches, all while presenting a face of calm. Have you ever paused to ask why you act in certain ways when you are alone? Why you are drawn to spirals of thought you would never share? Why you repeat patterns that cause you pain, even with the clear knowledge that they are harming you? This is not a failure of will. It is not a mark of weakness. It is a signal, a message from your inner self you have disregarded for so long. It has begun to shout, because your spirit can no longer sustain itself on fragmented truths. Now, allow me to share a perspective you may find challenging. If you often feel out of step with the world, if you perceive things with a heightened intensity, if your inner world feels like a vast and shifting landscape, it is because your very presence is not ordinary. It is exceptionally deep, profoundly resonant, and this can be a challenge, not for you, but for those around you, because a person like you is felt before they are seen. Your quiet depth can stir the settled waters in others. It acts as a reminder, for you carry a certain truth that many have learned to ignore, a truth so deeply buried they have forgotten it exists. Here we find a deeper teaching. This energy, this sensitivity, this intensity, they are not faults in your design. They are messengers, signals that something essential within you has been crying out for your attention. And instead of listening, you may have silenced it with constant motion. You may have built routines to avoid the silence. You have surrounded yourself with noise to drown out the clear, quiet voice of your inner wisdom. But it does not depart, for it is not something to be removed. It is a part of yourself that must be met with understanding. The more you turn away, the more it manifests as compulsion, as distraction, as difficult relationships, as a persistent hum of anxiety, as actions you do not understand but cannot seem to stop. Because this is the unacknowledged part of you, seeking to guide you back to wholeness. And do you know what is the most sorrowful part of this journey? That no one taught you to see your pain as a communication. You were taught to quiet it, to feel shame for it, to cover it with activity, to mask it with hollow affirmations. Yet here you are, and that inner presence has not left. In fact, it is with you now, observing, waiting not to cause ruin, but for you to finally turn your awareness toward it. This exploration is not for those content with the surface of life. It is for those who, like you, have begun to sense that the very things that challenge them also contain the way forward. We will not speak of simple remedies or fleeting motivation. We will journey into the places we are taught to avoid: your cycles, your impulses, your fears, your desire for approval, your inner voids, your quiet frustrations. We will learn the unspoken language of your inner landscape, because your inner world is not random. It possesses its own profound logic. It is ancient. It is brilliant. Your pain is not the adversary. It is the compass. Do you have the courage to look at what you have long turned away from? Because once you see it with clarity, you cannot unsee it. And then a choice will present itself. Will you continue to walk away from your own center, Or will you light a lamp and journey into the quiet rooms where your true self has been waiting? Because only there, amidst the stillness you have denied, does your real strength reside. Quiet, deep, immense, and ready for your attention. Perfect. Let's restart this section with a new flow, connected to the core idea. Let's discuss something rarely touched upon, the challenge that comes with true awareness. I do not mean a moral compass, nor the simple knowing of right and wrong. I am speaking of the raw, unfiltered consciousness that invites you to see yourself without illusion. The kind that makes you question the foundations of your life, even while others seem to coast along the surface. And yes, I understand this path can feel demanding, because when you see more, you invariably feel more. And when you feel more, you begin to construct walls so you do not become overwhelmed. The difficulty is that these very walls are what can separate you from your true nature. Have you observed how this unfolds? You begin to act in ways you cannot explain. You retreat from connection without cause. You seek refuge in distractions you don't truly enjoy. You disrupt your own peace just when things begin to feel calm. But behind all of this, there is no madness. There is clear sight that has not yet been fully understood. Because when you possess a heightened sensitivity, reality does not simply enter your mind. It arrives unfiltered, in its raw state. Every word, every glance, every silence is perceived through multiple layers of meaning, and this can create an internal overflow that few can comprehend. It is from this place that compulsive patterns can arise. Not from weakness, but from an excess of feeling. You are not broken, you are flooded. Your mind processes more information. Your body holds more tension. Your heart bears more weight until it reaches its limit. And then the escape appears, the repetitive action, the obsessive thought, the turning away. But here is the critical part. In that moment of release, when you consume, distract, or let go, the system finds relief and registers it as a solution, even if it leads you further from yourself. And being a person of awareness, you know this. But you cannot simply will it away, because the mind does not bow to logic when it craves emotional peace. This is why repetition is not a choice, it is a response. And the more you attempt to control it with force, the more it eludes you, because what is needed is not more discipline. What is needed is more understanding, more presence, more space to simply be with what you have held down for years. And do you know what adds another layer of complexity? While you navigate this inner current, from the outside, all may appear well. You have ordinary days, moments of stillness, you maintain your life. This can even cause you to doubt your own experience. Am I making this too large? Am I overly sensitive? Why am I so affected when my life is, by all accounts, fine? That is the illusion. The story you tell yourself when you begin to distrust your own pain. But pain does not require a reason or justification to exist. It simply is. And that is enough. Now listen closely, for this is important. The higher your capacity for emotional perception, the more refined your methods of hiding from yourself can become. You no longer need visible excesses. Sometimes it is enough to fill your days with busyness, to care for everyone except yourself, to analyze every feeling into theory, to say, I have worked on that, when in truth you have only buried it under a mountain of concepts. Your escape becomes more elegant, but it is just as corrosive. And here we arrive at the most profound teaching. The parts you hide from are not only made of what you dislike about yourself. They are also made of all you do not dare to admit you need, of desires you judge, of anger you mask with passivity, of the fundamental need to be seen and accepted that you have learned to deny in order to appear strong. And the more you deny these needs, the more powerful the unconscious drive to fulfill them becomes. It is not that you lack control, it is that you lack permission. Permission to feel without a filter, to be angry without blame, to grieve without an explanation, to say, I need, without shame. Because most of your patterns are not born from a desire for pleasure. They are born from an emotional hunger, from unmet needs, from wounds that still ache though they have been covered over for years. Do you want to know why breaking a cycle is so difficult? Because pain, even when it is destructive, is also familiar. It is predictable. You know its contours. While wellness, stillness, and true connection can feel foreign, uncomfortable, even suspect. This is why when good things begin to flow into your life, you may disrupt them. Not because you are unworthy, but because the emotional self you have trained for years understands that peace can feel dangerous. Because it asks you to be open. Because it makes you vulnerable. Because you do not yet know how to simply rest in stillness. And this is the deepest root of it all. Your system does not seek happiness. It seeks familiarity. And if your sense of familiarity was built in turmoil, that is what you will unconsciously seek out again and again. This is why it is hard to let go. It is why you repeat connections with people who do not nourish you. It is why you become attached to habits you dislike, because your body registers the familiar as safe, even if it brings pain. So this is not a matter of willpower. It is a matter of profound emotional relearning. And that relearning does not happen through force. It happens when you begin to look with honesty at everything you have avoided. When you start to build inner spaces where you can feel without needing to hide. When you stop trying to prove anything and start to ask, what part of me is asking to be seen? What emotion am I turning away from? What impulse am I judging so harshly that I am unintentionally giving it strength? Your sensitivity, your intensity, your capacity to feel the world deeply are not errors. They are the results of a mind that had to learn to navigate a challenging landscape. And now, that same system is asking for something new. Not to simply survive, but to heal, to integrate, to return home to yourself. Without masks, without filters, without excuses. With all the rawness, tenderness, and strength that implies. Because in the end, the only truly revolutionary act is to dare to be yourself without anesthetic. And that is the most demanding path, but also the only one that can truly set you free. And just as you begin to see that the key is not to eliminate your impulses, but to understand them, another layer of truth appears, one that can be deeply unsettling. You are not only contending with your own currents, you may also be carrying waters that are not yours. Unseen inheritances, burdens that did not start with you, but which can find their resolution with you if you choose to do the work. Because yes, though it may be a challenging concept, many of the emotions that flow through you may not have been born in your own life story, but in that of your parents, your grandparents, your lineage. And the deepest truth is that this is not stored in your mind, but in your body. That anxiety that surfaces without a clear cause, that deep melancholy whose source you cannot name, that sense of guilt when you choose your own well-being. At times, these are not yours alone. They are unspoken allegiances you learned without being taught, as if your body became a vessel for inherited emotions. You are not taught this in school. You do not read of it in popular books on well-being, but you carry it within. You feel it directly each time you try to move forward, and an invisible current pulls you back. Has this been your experience? You decide to make a genuine change. You begin to care for yourself, to create space, to say no. And suddenly you feel a deep discomfort, as if you are breaking a sacred rule you never agreed to. This is the power of emotional memory. And it resides not only in your personal past, but in the lineage of how your family learned to endure, how your role models suppressed, quieted, and carried on. You have inherited that way of being in the world. And now, as you try to walk a different path, your inner system registers it as a danger. It is here that many turn back, because they believe the pain means they are on the wrong path, when in truth, it means they are becoming free. Change does not initially feel like freedom. It can feel like a departure, because you are breaking the invisible bonds that maintain the painful but familiar equilibrium. This is why moving forward can hurt, not because you are wrong, but because you may be the first in your line to choose a different way, and that has a weight. You may feel alone, you may feel misunderstood, you may feel as if you are losing your footing, but this is not madness. It is a repatterning. It is evolution. It is a deep cleansing of the emotional stream. And there is no applause for this work. No one may even notice. But you feel it. You know it. You experience it in your bones. So what can you do when the foundations of who you thought you were begin to shift? The first step is to understand that this is not an ending. It is a beginning. The precise moment your identity starts to rebuild itself from what is authentic, from who you are, not from what you were taught to be. And here another equally vital process begins: rebuilding your sense of self, but not the superficial kind based on accomplishments, praise, or social approval. I am speaking of your inner foundation, the one built on knowing yourself deeply and still choosing to stand with yourself. The one that does not crumble when you falter, the one that supports you when nothing else does. And here is a most subtle point. Most of us carry a self-image created from the reflections we saw in others' parents, teachers, partners, friends. And over time, that image becomes a cage because we begin to live to maintain it, not from self-love, but from a fear of disconnection. And that is the next great journey: to let the image crack, to stop striving to be the person others need, and to start becoming the person you truly are. It is not simple, because that image is often tied to your sense of worth. If you learn that you are valued only when you are helpful, when you are quiet, when you do not cause disruption, when you achieve, then every time you honor your own needs first, a sense of guilt may arise. But this guilt is an echo. You do not owe your life to upholding the emotional comfort of others at the expense of your own spirit. And if your presence, your depth, your truth makes others uncomfortable, then let it be. You did not come to this life for comfort. You came to awaken, to transform, to heal ancient patterns. And now listen with your whole being, for this speaks directly to your nervous system. You do not need to be on high alert at all times. You do not have to anticipate every outcome to prevent pain. You are no longer in that old danger, but your body does not yet know this. This is why it reacts as it does. It is why you live with a quiet tension in your muscles, why you sleep without true rest, why you eat without hunger or lose your appetite to worry, because your body learned that to be relaxed is to be vulnerable. And here lies the true practice: to re-educate your system, to help it understand that it no longer needs to defend itself against the world. This is not achieved only through quiet sitting, nor with words spoken to a mirror. It is achieved through repeated, small acts of self-compassion, through clear boundaries, through moments of pause where you can affirm to yourself, I am safe. I do not have to run. I do not have to explain. I do not have to rescue anyone. And yes, at first you will feel the guilt, the emptiness, even a kind of sorrow you cannot name. But that does not mean you are doing it incorrectly. It means you are cleansing. You are shedding the layers you have carried since you were a child. You are setting down weights that were never yours to carry. And when you begin to live from this space, something shifts. Your impulses soften. Your compulsions dissolve, not because you conquered them, but because they are no longer needed. Because you are no longer running, you are inhabiting yourself. You are listening to yourself. You are acting from a place of connection, not from a place of emptiness. And this is what no one teaches. That when you learn to truly be with yourself, many of your inner battles simply fade. Your intensity does not disappear, but it transforms. It becomes a fire of creativity, of direction, of profound authenticity. It is no longer a weapon that turns against you. It is a light that guides your way. And then you cease the war with yourself. You stop viewing your sensitivity as a flaw, and you begin to see it for what it always was: a doorway, a compass, a powerful way to understand the world and to transform it. And that transformation begins with you, here and now, in the place where you can no longer pretend, where your soul asks for truth, where your body asks for rest, where your story is finally ready to be written from a place of awareness, not from a place of wounding. So do not cover it. Do not deny it. Do not distract yourself. See it. Listen to it. Hold it with compassion, because in that very part of yourself you may have feared lies everything you need to be free. And you are already prepared. even if you do not yet feel it. And now that we have journeyed this far, I would like to offer an invitation. Our guided teachings and online sanctuary are available for those who wish to deepen this practice. Do you feel that something within you seeks to awaken, but you do not know where to begin? Then I invite you to transform your way of seeing, and with it, your way of living. Discover who you can become. Start today. The link to our sanctuary can be found in the description of this video. Let us continue our journey. And it is here that the path becomes truly interesting. Because just when you believe you have understood the nature of your inner world, just when you feel you are beginning to bring harmony to the emotional chaos, something deeper emerges, something many never find. Beneath all the struggle, beneath the impulses, the void, the anxiety, and the search for validation, there is a profound strength waiting to be claimed, a strength that does not resemble what you have been sold as confidence or power. It is not an image of success or a perfected version of you. It is something more raw, more real, your capacity to be your own anchor in the storm of life, without depending on external praise, without needing to feel good all the time, without demanding that you be an optimized machine every single day. And when you discover this, when you begin to live from this core of inner stability, the spell is broken. Life ceases to be a race to prove your worth. Your relationships transform. Your work transforms. Even the way you breathe transforms. You no longer need to struggle so much. You are no longer trying to fit into spaces not meant for you. You begin to create spaces where you can simply be. And in this world, that is a revolutionary act. But there is a final illusion, perhaps the most subtle of all. It is the belief that now that you understand, you will no longer fall. That knowledge grants immunity. That you will never again doubt, never again stumble, never again turn away from yourself. My friend, you will continue to fall, because this journey does not make you perfect. It makes you honest. You will see old patterns arise. You will feel anxiety visit you. You will have days where your inner world is a mystery. And that is part of the path. Because now, you do not run. Now, you see, you observe, and you choose to meet yourself with compassion, again and again. That is the difference between a life lived in resistance and a life lived in awareness. It is not that everything becomes easy. It is that you no longer demand that you be constantly well in order to deserve love, respect, or rest. It is that you give yourself permission to be human, complete, contradictory, intense, and free. And here we reach the final insight, the one only those who have traveled this far can truly grasp. The part of you in shadow is not what holds you back. It is the very thing that is pushing you to awaken. Every time you feel overwhelmed, every time you feel you have reached a limit, it is not the end. It is your being saying, enough of ignoring me. Listen, I need to heal. And when you finally do, when instead of numbing the feeling, you decide to breathe with what is, that is when your inner revolution truly begins. That is when your authentic life begins. So, if you have journeyed this far, if you have felt these words as if they were speaking directly to you, let me offer this. It is not by chance. You are ready. You are standing at the very threshold where something within you no longer wishes to turn back. And if this video has stirred something within you, if it has offered a clue, a truth, or even the profound disturbance you needed, then subscribe, but not for my sake. Do it for your own, because here we will not linger on the surface. We will continue to explore, to inquire, and to bring light to that which is often left in darkness. And let me see you in the comments. If this message has truly found a home in you, write, I am here to learn. That way, I will know you have reached this point, that you are not running, that you are present. And now, yes, I will take my leave, but not with a simple phrase or a tidy conclusion. I will leave you with a question that will serve you more than any answer. Who would you be if you stopped fighting against yourself? We will meet in the next silence or in your next awakening. The choice is yours.